guys, it's Drew from the Money Is Show, and I'm glad you're back with us this week. I've got a really, really cool guest on the show that came all the way from my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, to be on the show with us today. And something different, something that you haven't experienced yet on the show, which is how do you actually invest internationally? How do you invest somewhere else besides America? How does it work? What are the ways to connect the dots into you living in North Dakota, but investing in a different country in general? And there's some really cool opportunities we're going to walk you through today. She's been in real estate for over 20 years, helping investors just like you educate them on investing, but then also on now this international side of it as well. Super cool information we're about to go through. So stay tuned as we interview Evie Brooks, and her website, just so you guys know it right now, is eviebrookspanama.com, which we'll talk about Panama investing right now. But eviebrookspanama.com, you guys check it out. In the meantime, let's watch the show. Evie, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Long flight from Atlanta.
It wasn't too bad.
I've flown it many, many times.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Atlanta is it's pretty much a direct flight anywhere.
Absolutely.
And that is always a benefit.
Definitely.
Layovers are what just drive me bonkers. Bonkers. I hate layovers. And but glad you came out. And we're close to Christmas time.
Yes.
Christmas is around the corner, and then New Year's, and hopefully this random weird ass 2020 COVID thing disappears in 20. I think everybody's like praying on January 1st.
Exactly.
Everything goes back to normal on 2021, and so we'll see. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it does. But you do all kinds of stuff, right? Your background is in real estate for your whole life, really. You've been in real estate.
Right out of college.
And invested in multiple different states, in single family, multifamily, all types of different investing. We'll talk a little bit about that, but mainly, of course, I want to talk to you about Panama.
Okay.
Just because international investing is one of those things I think a lot of people maybe kick around. Is it a vacation investment? You know, here Panama, does that mean let's go have a second home for a vacation and then rent it out?
Right.
Or does it mean, is it straight investing? So I want to dive into that stuff with you to see how it works there. And then I want to, of course, dive into also business in general.
Okay.
Obviously, as an entrepreneur, we win, we lose, we get up, we keep moving forward. And I want to kind of get that story of Evie and how that took place in your life. Before we do that, let's start at the very, very beginning. Tell me a little bit about how it was like growing up, Evie. Brothers, sisters, big family, small family, poor, rich. What was the background like?
Well, I came from a wonderful family of just great loyalty and love.
Oh, wow.
Our family did not have a lot of money growing up.
Okay.
It was tough. My dad was enlisted in the Air Force.
Okay.
And when he got out, he became an electrician, so blue-collar worker.
Yeah, yeah.
I learned my work ethic from my mother and my father,
Okay.
And my grandparents.
Okay.
My grandparents were farmers in Georgia,
Okay.
in a little town called Talmo, Georgia.
Talmo, Georgia.
Talmo, Georgia, and that's where my family still is today.
Wow.
Talmo and Pendergrass, and most of them live within 5 miles of each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah. Very Georgia-like.
I'm the black sheep of the family. I went all of 30 miles away to Lake Lanier.
Yep.
But we really didn't have a lot. And
How many brothers and sisters?
I had one brother and 2 sisters.
Okay.
And but we had a lot of love in our family, and
Yeah.
still do. And that was what really created the foundation of who I am today.
Man, there's so many similarities. Even we were talking about some of our other background. I grew up, same thing, super close family, loyal, love, constantly. I literally just text my mom. She sent me a video of my nephew. He's like 2 years old, and I literally just text her for the show. But super, even this day, very close, very loyal, and but very poor growing up. And my dad is an electrician.
Wow.
Yes, you said your father's an electrician. My dad was an electrician as well, and a lot of similarities there. So, and like you, I think you said your parents, that's where you got the work ethic from.
Absolutely.
They were workers, huh?
They are my heroes,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
mentors, and they're not wealthy and rich and famous, but they are absolutely my mentors.
Is that who molded you and created you into who you are
Absolutely.
today? When you were growing up, the life that you had growing up, did they push for entrepreneurship? Did they push to college? Was there any push there?
There was not. It was a mentality of just work hard, get a good
Okay.
job and work hard, and I was determined that I was going to break that chain of
Okay.
struggling from paycheck to paycheck. And I can remember being 3 years old in Miami when there would be more month than there was money.
Mhm.
And my dad was enlisted at the time, and my parents would have to borrow a can of beans from the neighbors.
Yeah.
I can remember this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so as I grew up, I knew that I wanted to go to college, and there was only 2 of my cousins out of a large family of, you know, aunts and uncles, cousins, and whatnot, that had gone to college before me. And it was two girls, my cousin Patricia, my cousin Sherry, and they were both a good bit older than I. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to college, because there was a lot of cousins, and most of us did not end up going to college. They just got out of high school and went and got a job. And so I did. I went to college, and right out of college decided that real estate was the path for me. I had no idea what it was going to turn into, though.
I was going to ask you, was your degree in real estate?
No, my degree was in penology and criminal justice.
Okay, okay. Nothing to do with real estate at all?
Nothing at
well, I guess
all.
there's maybe some investigative work in real estate. So no degree in real estate, went to college for criminal justice, graduated, and then immediately diverted a path like majority, I think, of most people do, and went to real estate.
It was a fluke. It was not planned. I wanted to go into law school, got pregnant my last semester of college, and was so sick that I couldn't even work for the first 6 months.
Wow.
So that's why this happened, and then I just, by accident, stumbled into a real estate position in Atlanta off of Executive Park Drive. And North Druid Hills, and stayed there for 4 years, and realized I was sitting on the wrong side of the desk. Everybody on this side of the desk was making way more money than I was, and I was just decided I wanted to switch sides of the desk.
So you mentioned something earlier. I'm just ask you if I can. How many babies you got?
I have 4 children.
4 children. Boy, girls, tell me what you got.
2 boys and 2 girls.
Oh, that's a good split.
Amazing children.
Right in the middle, 2 and 2. I grew up in a family of 4, but 1 boy, 3 sisters. So you got 2 kids there. You get this job in Atlanta by fluke. You weren't really planning on this career path at the time. And what is the job at? What are you doing there?
I was in commercial real estate management, asset management.
Okay. Were you managing, like, give us an idea, like managing apartment buildings?
No, it was commercial real estate. We did tenant improvement. I had 26 buildings at Executive Park. I had clients like Simmons and CDC and those types of commercial real estate type tenants, and I did everything from the lease renewals to the tenant improvement, working with the contractors and the subcontractors, and the property management for the building.
Okay. So before we go down the path of kind of your career path here, let's back up for a second. I want the audience to know what you do now. So give us like kind of a highlight view, and maybe we can talk a little bit about it, but what do you do currently in business right now?
I am focused internationally. I do have investment projects in multiple different states in the United States that I've had for a long time, and many of those I've done after I started international, but I started in Central America back in 2003 in Costa Rica. And I stayed there until the market crashed in 2008, and I just hung on for 4 years. You know how they say you're going to rearrange the furniture as the ship goes down? Well, that's what happened in Costa Rica. It just did not come back, and I had a master plan community, 700-acre master plan community, and it just never came back. After the crash of 2008, because Costa Rica is a tourism-only country. And so I finally gave it up and said, I'm going to cross the border. I'm going to Panama, because they have just continued to click along. And I'm going to go over because I got started in Costa Rica with that expat market. And that is a market that's never going to go away. And it's not just U.S. or North America oriented. It's worldwide oriented. And so I went to Panama in 2012 and have not looked back.
Wow. So when you give us a little bit of background, I want to go into international stuff with you on Panama mainly. Give us a little bit of background of just kind of your investing career here in the States, because I know you've done multiple states of investing and multiple levels of investing. Give us a little bit of a background of what you've invested in here, stateside. I
started originally when I left corporate America after 4 years, and I started buying rental properties, long-term rental properties, and most of them were not really fix and flip, just need some cosmetic type things. And so I started with that, and I started doing just the cash flow rental projects in really nice neighborhoods. And then I went from that to wanting to venture out, started doing some lease options, some creative finance stuff. I went to Florida, started investing in Florida and North Carolina. Then I went out to Utah, believe it or not, Ogden, Utah, with my partner, who was actually my boss, Kevin Phipps. He's he's from this area. And at the time, he was working in Atlanta when I started working with him, and his family decided to move back to Utah. And so we've done deals throughout the years together. After we separated in Atlanta, I left corporate America. He stayed in corporate America for a number of years after that, and then came back to Utah. And we just connected and continued to do real estate transactions together. And then early 2000s, I had the opportunity to go to teach international real estate investing in Costa Rica, and that's how I got into that whole niche market of
Costa Rica
expats.
and international investing.
And international.
Couple of questions. Number one, you mentioned you said your boss that you did some deals with. Currently, he's not your boss.
Oh, no,
You're
he's just
completely
my
on
partner.
your own. He's just a,
Oh,
became
yeah,
a
he's just my partner.
He was your boss way back when you were doing commercial real estate.
When I got out of college, he was
Right.
my boss in commercial real estate management.
Yeah. And then the deals that you've done now, one question I just had, right? Being an investor myself, a lot of the people listening are investors. Just a question that I had is like, what makes an investor like you, you're in Georgia at the time, you get started, what makes an investor like you say, hey, I'm going to go to North Carolina, or I'm going to go to Florida, I'm going to go to these other states, versus staying where you were in Georgia? What makes you go?
Because I've always believed that the best opportunities are not in your backyard, number one.
Okay.
And number two, one of the strategies that I had really loved was how to put your kids through college without having to pay for it.
Okay.
And real estate was the way to do that, buy property. And so my oldest daughter went up to Montreat Anderson.
Okay.
And so we decided to buy a property just outside of Asheville, North Carolina.
Interesting.
To be able to have that as one of the strategies that we utilized. Florida, I am just a water person. I live on Lake Lanier. I like the water. I like the warm weather. And so anytime I could find an excuse to get away from Atlanta during the winter months, I would head south. And Florida was the first place that I started in. And so I did a lot of investments in the Fort Myers area. Mm-hmm. And then ended up in 2003 down in Costa Rica.
Gotcha. I gotcha. It makes sense now how it all came together there. So you do this the stateside investing for years and years, and then you jump into this international training side, which is what kind of opened the door for international investing. It's funny how in life, like, it wasn't like you set out one day to become, oh, I know what I'm going to do. No. I'm going to be an international investor.
Absolutely.
It wasn't really this path that you were trying to create. It was just doors that you were going through and opportunities that were happening that got you down there.
That's right.
Now, how long, just ballpark, how much time did you spend in Costa Rica?
I was in Costa Rica from 2003 until 2012.
Okay. And did you live down there or going back and forth constantly?
I went back and forth, but I did have a home there. And once I started working in the international market, I have been in that country, whether it was Costa Rica or Panama, from 35% of the year to 60% of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break down Panama.
Okay.
I got a ton of questions for you on international investing. Something I have not done, so I'm going to be the viewer here, and I'm going to ask you all kinds of questions about it out of my curiosity here. So number one, I think the first question is why Panama? What made you choose Panama as the investment that you would build your whole business around?
That's the easiest question you're going to ask me today.
Okay, good.
Simply because of it not being a tourism country after what I experienced in Costa Rica.
Okay.
It was not just a tourism country. In fact, that falls number 5 or 6 in the list of industries that drive that country in the GDP. The fact that in 2008 it pulled back a tiny little bit, but it just kept clicking along, and so the GDP actually did pull back in 2009 after the big crash to 4%.
Okay.
So it was still a strong GDP, and it grew from there all the way up until 2020 when COVID hit, and has had incredible double-digit GDP in a couple of years. And there's a lot of things that attract people to Panama: investment purposes, business purposes, multinational companies, the Panama Canal, now the Cobre copper mines, which is projected to bring in more revenue in the next 40 years than the actual Panama Canal. So it's just business-oriented opportunity. You've got multiple exit strategies with any investments that you make if you're doing condominiums or vacation homes, where you're not just stuck with a vacation rental if something like 2008 or COVID happens. You've got multiple other exit strategies that you can implement, and you're not just stuck with a project that you can't do anything with.
Gotcha. So if I say this right, what made you choose Panama was learning from Costa Rica. Just like, I mean, I learned so much through the crash of 2008, 9, 10, right? And you learn like, oh, wait a second, this is off, this is off, this is off. Which if you were in Atlanta, also during that time, Atlanta was decimated with the crash. So you learn from experience of what's good, bad, and ugly in investing. And there's always ups and downs when you invest and are doing stuff. You move over to Panama because of tourism was what crippled you in Costa Rica. Because when tourism dropped, which again, I think your theory is proven off right now probably with COVID.
Right.
All right, because if everything was back to tourism, I mean, look at where tourism is the last year in America and other countries like this, right? Where tourism is in the complete tank, your investors would be really messed up right now or struggling.
Absolutely.
If it was only based off of tourism again. So you hedged all those bets and made sure there's other sources of economy growth inside of Panama, and that's why you moved out there.
That's right.
Interesting. Why would someone like me or someone listening, why would someone like us, if we're looking to invest international, what makes someone kind of go through that thought process of like, hey, I'm not going to invest where I live, I'm going to go invest internationally? What drives someone down that road right there?
Well, the first reason that I got into this was for the expat market, and that's with people that's wanting to either become a resident or have a second residency in a different location outside of their home country for a number of reasons. The environment, health purposes, medical cost, just wanting to reduce their expenses, their liabilities. Many of them want to become citizens and become an actual expat from their home country and give up citizenship in their home country because of tax issues. So there's a number of different reasons, and that's why I initially tapped into that market, because that was a huge market. But now with COVID and everything that's happened, diversification of investments is probably the number one at this point. Expat is still big, and it may be tied, but diversification of assets.
Okay, let's back up for a second. Let's go through expats for a second.
Okay.
So expats is just meaning someone lives in ABC country, because you don't work with just American investors.
Not at all.
Right?
I have investors from all over the world.
All over the world that are investing in Panama there. So an expat is someone who may be living in, I'm going to make up a country here, or not make up a country, but for illustration purposes, maybe they live in Turkey,
right,
and they want to have expat, meaning they want to leave Turkey citizenship, could mean this. They want to give up citizenship in Turkey and take citizenship in a different country, in this example, Panama. That's
one example. Or have dual residency.
Yeah, or they could be a citizen Turkey and Panama, right? They could do that, right? Have both of them. Those are a lot of, originally when you kind of started, that was like your main kind of stream of clientele?
That's correct.
Interesting. If I ask you the question just on a ballpark, because it's kind of a new world to me, the expat thing, how would you tell someone if they were looking to do that? Like how do you become, or how do you do an expat? How do you become an expat?
How do you become an expat? It's a very simple process, and every country is going to have a different set of rules. But basically, the three things are: you're going to tap into the right power team member, typically an attorney, that's going to help you get that visa process started.
Okay.
And there's just a number of very simple steps that you have to go through. Like in Panama, you have to set up a bank account. You have to go down and visit, bring your passports, and just go through that legal process. Number two, most expats are looking for a place to live, so you want to make sure you've got somebody reliable. Number two, somebody reliable to work with that can help you make sure that you're not overpaying, that you're getting into an actual investment property, even if you're going to live there part-time or full-time. You want to make sure you don't overpay, that you're not paying full fair market value, that you're paying a reduced rate, you're walking into equity. And number three, that you are finding a location that's going to fit into your total overall business plan. What are you wanting to accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years, and does this fit into that plan of action? So
those are the three things that someone needs to look at if they're trying to become an expat.
Right.
Those three things right there. Do you see in your expertise in this international expat thing, do you see a lot of people taken advantage of that are trying to become an expat, where they are buying some house somewhere, kind of sight unseen maybe, from somebody that is in the wrong area, they're way overpaying for it? Is that like a market? Like I'll give you an example here. Like a lot of times I see in turnkey real estate, a lot of times maybe investors in California are buying a property in Ohio, and to them it's like, oh my God, $55,000, that's incredible. In reality, it was like $15,000, right? Yeah. Sometimes there's that, they get taken advantage of sometimes. Do you see that in the expat kind of market there?
You're going to have that everywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah, not just in Panama, I'm saying everywhere.
Everywhere, because we're the gringos.
Okay.
And if people see gringos coming that's Panamanian, they see dollar signs.
Uh-huh.
But you've got to make sure that you're tying your kite strings to the right kites that's going to make sure that you're protected. And we have created a whole power team, A to Z, all things Panama, everything that you need to know, to make sure that our people do not get taken advantage of. And we've created associations and relationships with the right attorneys and the accountants and the banks and the bankers and all the types of different people that you're going to need, the developers. We've vetted everyone to make sure that that's not going to happen. And that's why I feel like a program like ours is so important, because people that come in and try to do it on their own, for example, I have heard of people that have paid $10,000 to $20,000 to get their residency. It shouldn't cost more than $3,000.
Wow, okay.
And people just don't know that, and they'll pay for things like setting up a bank account. You shouldn't pay $500 or $1,000 to have a bank account set up. If you're associated with the right person or the right group or the right power team member, that's not going to happen.
Let me ask you this, just new to this whole process here. If someone was working with you guys, and they were doing the expat thing, do they have to go to, in your case, in your example, Panama, do they have to go to Panama to become an expat, or do they have to visit, or they don't even have to visit?
Well, it depends on the type of visa that you're getting.
Okay.
There's multiple different types of visa, and there's a new visa for non-friendly nations countries like China, or some of these other countries that are not considered one of the friendly nations. And this has just come out in COVID. With a $300,000 investment, cash investment into real estate, you're actually buying a real estate project, then you can get your residency and you don't even have to come to the country. But like for us with the friendly nations, yes, we have to go to the country and we have to plan on being there for about 10 working days, because they take our passport and they process all of that during the residency process. So it depends on the type of visa that you're getting.
Gotcha.
It's not like you have to be there any extended length of time. You don't have to spend so many days out of the year there. Once you get your passports processed and you get your residency structured, you can just visit one day a year if you want.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the investments themselves right now. Okay. How in the world did you go from a mom of four, let's say, in Atlanta, Georgia, or Lake Lanier, to working with freaking massive developers? You mentioned one earlier, like you're working on some deals at the Findy building that's being built. Like, how did you go from mom of four off of Lake Lanier to work with these massive developers that are building these massive projects? Tell us kind of that journey there.
Well, I'd already been a number of years in Costa Rica creating this expat program, and I had been formulating this whole concept of the investment mentality and what people are looking for, and leveraging and other people's money and all those kind of things. And so when I went to Panama, I started going and meeting with the major developers, the big, renowned, very secure financially, old Panamanian developers. And quite frankly, I got laughed out of the offices of almost all of them. There was only one that I walked in with, and he had gone to Georgia Tech. And he was totally open to listening to what I wanted, but they did not have a investment mentality in Panama. This is the property, this is the price, buy it or don't. And I went in and said, no, you don't understand. You're going to be dealing with investors that are wanting to walk into a project, that walk into it with equity, with potential cash flow, and with potential forced appreciation. And I'm going to have two of those to even represent your property. So we went back and forth, and we developed this program over a period of years. And we came out of the gate so strong with so many buyers and international expat buyers. The word started spreading. And so now I have developers calling me on a regular basis saying, "Would you represent our program? We want to be in your program."
And are they doing that because you can help them sell, fund, whatever you want to call it, a good portion of their development? Let's just use condos, for example. Are they hitting you up because they know that if they get it to Evie, she can unload 20 of these projects for us, or fund 20 of these deals for us?
Well, yes, but here's the thing. We will only take a very small percentage of any project. Let's say it's a 200-unit building. We're only going to have a maximum of 7% of that building, 14 units out of 200, that will fall into that investor program, because you can't sell the whole building or even half the building at those reduced prices, because you've just brought the value of the property down. So people that's just coming over there from other countries, or just wanting to have a second home or whatever, they typically just show up, walk into a developer's office and say, "I want to buy," and here's the retail price. Our types of program is a program that it's not published, it's not all over the internet. You're not just going to go online and find these types of deals. It's very strategically created, and it's only offered to our database of clients.
Wow. Yeah, I know it's interesting, because I want to get into a little bit where even with these small percentages that you get out of these buildings, as an investor, it's freaking brilliant, it looks like, because, you know, before crash happened in 2008, I remember even in Atlanta, I came across this strategy. I thought, man, that is really, really smart, where they were going in, investors were going into these new sky rises being built, like Trump Towers and so forth, right? And they would go in pre-construction and buy these units at a certain price, knowing good and well they're about to build 300 more units, and they're only going to keep going up. The goal, the purpose was that they keep going up.
Exactly.
So by the time, whatever it is, let's say it took them 3 years to finish it, your value of your now condo is now worth like X amount more, and you've done absolutely nothing in the process except for you have allowed them to push their value up. Very much like the art that I buy. Like, I know I'm buying it pre-publication at a certain price, knowing good and well there's only 200 pieces of it, and every piece is worth this until all 200 are sold, right? And they were doing this in the condos. This is pre-bubble. I saw this strategy, and I almost jumped into it. But when you're talking backstage, you have like that, which is the forced equity.
Correct.
Then you could have the cash flow side of it on your side of it, built into it as well. And on some of those projects that you're doing, crazy cool financing attached to it.
That's
like
the key.
Walk in and you're already pre-approved for these developers because they need these units certain amount sold so they can start pushing the values up. Dude, it's a really, really crazy process here, or I would say process, I would say really cool business model that you have freaking built for international investing. It's like, it's not what I thought it was when we were talking. Give us an example so that they can maybe understand it now. Give us an example of like a project, and let's just stay with condos for now. We want to talk about other farming, agriculture you got as well. But just give me an example of like a condo project investment that an investor listening would be buying into.
Okay, so we're going to use, for example, the YOO. It's a project that is known worldwide, very high-end condominium type project. And because of the program that I have created with the developers there, we have a developer financing project. So cash on cash is what we look at, not just the return on investment of the purchase price, because you're not typically going to pay that full purchase price. You're going to get developer financing. You don't have to qualify with a FICO score. You don't have to jump through hoops and fill out all kinds of tax returns and papers. You just go in, you put down a down payment, and a pre-construction project like this one, it's going to be done in 2.5 years. You're going to put down 10% at contract, 10% in 12 months, and 10% in 24 months. That's all you're ever going to have in the deal, and then the developer's going to carry the financing for you if you want to finance it afterwards. Right now, our interest rates are 4%.
That is stupid crazy.
Yeah.
So like, I'm mesmerized by this, thinking I should just start buying freaking every time you release one, because it is a limited slot that you have.
There are.
You don't have, it's not like a building's going to give you, like you said, 100 units. They're going to give you 10, 12, 15 units that this will only work for.
That's
so
correct.
In this process, make sure I'm on the same page before I start buying these things from you. We'll just do a live thing here, okay? So an investor's coming in, I'm going to use me. Let's say I live in Florida, and I want to buy this condo that you have in Panama. One thing that you said I think is very accurate for everybody to understand, that it is not a sales pitch in what you said, in the sense of you can't find this price online, you can't find it anywhere. No, that's truth. You cannot find it.
Absolutely.
You're not even putting them on the websites.
No.
You're not putting it on social media.
Absolutely.
This is like a pocket listing if you're a real estate investor of these X amount of condos, let's say in this example, that you're going to sell strictly to your clientele base.
That's right.
That they'll get the opportunity to do it on.
That's
you're not going to find it on, even if you went to the developer, you're not going to find what you put together for them.
That's correct.
This is crazy. Okay, so before I get too excited here. So let's say this example, this condo building, you get 12 units in it, and you're going to sell these 12, but you're going to sell them pre-construction, which means you're going to sell them, the goal would be that you're selling below a fair market value when they're done in 2.5 years.
Yes.
Just give us a ballpark. Just a hypothetical. What is that spread looking like?
All right,
like type of deal?
I'm going to tell you right now. For this particular project that we're looking at, I can sell an 80-meter unit, which they use meters, not square feet there. And at 80 meters, the retail price, depending on the floor that you're on, is going to be right now somewhere between $3,200 and $3,400 a meter. We're purchasing at $2,650 a meter. For cash, up to $30.50 a meter for the 10-10-10 program. Of course, the more cash you put down, the lower the price. Okay. But the cash on cash return is actually higher the less money you put down. It's crazy.
That's how it works, yeah.
So if you put down $30.50 and the retail price on that thing is let's say $285,000, you've paid $244,000, so you're walking into, $45,000 equity on the front end.
Yeah. So you're walking into, is that cash? Is that all cash right there, or did you do the 10-10-10 program?
No, you did the 10-10-10 program on that one. So
240 to 285.
So remember, you only have 10% in right now, so $24,000 right now.
Okay.
And then the time value of money in 12 months, another $24,000, and then in 24 months, another $24,000, and that's all you ever put down on that project. And then you go into developer financing if we decide to hold it and lease it. But we're going to look at that 6 to 8 months in advance to make sure that for the market at that time, that's the best strategy. Or should we flip that right now?
Because you could then sell it.
Because we could turn around and
Holy
flip
shit. Okay, so now I'm thinking about my self-directed IRAs.
Self-directed
right?
IRAs.
I'm thinking about self-directed right now on this. Like, this is like a, I don't want to say this, but it's like a done-for-you fix and flip, if you will,
Exactly.
where I could just, depending on what the spread is, right? I mean, they're all going to change markets and so forth. But, I mean, I could almost just put the money out there. During those, let's say, 2.5 years, I'm not getting a return on my money, the $24,000 I put down.
Correct.
Because it's just being built. It's not rented,
That's right.
So I'm not getting a return on it there. But when it's done in, let's say, 2.5 years, I can either go the lease route, where they lease the property out, and or I could flip it and sell it, depending on what my spread was on the deal.
That's correct.
Let me ask you this. On the financing side, developer financing, 10-10-10 program, for my self-directed account, which it must be because I think you said you're doing some of these, then that must, is the developer giving you a non-recourse loan?
They are always non-recourse loans.
Shut up.
Yeah.
They're non-recourse loans out of the gate.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, non-recourse loans in general are freaking hard to get.
Yeah.
You know, because if you do self-directed, you got your you have to have non-recourse loans.
Correct.
So these are non-recourse loans that these developers, and again, some may not. I'm not saying every single time, but in general here, they're going to give you non-recourse loans, pre-approvals. You do the 10-10-10. You're going to get some built-in equity and then the cash flow.
That's right. When I say no pre-approvals, you don't even have to tell them how much money you make. You do not have to tell them what your FICO score is. You do not have to provide a tax
There's
return.
nothing, no bank
you
statements.
You sign not a bank statement, nothing. You sign a contract and you put the down payment. If you default on it, they keep the down payment. End of story.
Yeah, so if you default, let's say that in 12 months, you're like, oh man, I don't have the other 24,000, 10% in that example, then that's what you're going to lose. You're going to lose that 10%.
That's right. And they'll even work with you on that typically. They won't, like if you don't have it on the day, they're going to work with you for a while.
Yeah, to get it in. Yeah. Right. Okay, so 10-10-10 game, 10 upfront, 10%, not 10,000, to be clear, 10% of whatever the purchase price is. 10% upfront, 10% in 12 months, 10% in 24 months.
Right.
Okay, me playing devil's advocate here. Is there, as the investor, is there anything on month 12, month 24, where if the developer has not built a certain level or a certain amount or a certain project, let's say that in 12 months he's, I don't know, God forbid, still like in permit phase or something happened with the country or the county froze his permits or something. Is there any kind of stipulations there?
No, there's not. And the developers in Panama will not put any kind of, like here in the States, we're used to them having a penalty if they don't meet a deadline.
Right.
They don't have that in Panama, and I've tried to implement that. But typically you will find that the developers that we work with, they're not one-off. They're not building one building.
Is it the first building?
No, they've built 140 buildings, 200 buildings over the time that they've been in business. And we're not talking about a house. We're talking about 60-story high-rise buildings.
Right.
High-end buildings. I mean, our developers have built major hotels, the Marriotts and the Intercontinental Hotels and the Westons. And I mean, we deal with very high-end developers. The U is one of them. The Armani building, the Fendi building, those types of things. So those are the types of developers that we work with. So you don't have that, but you also typically, not always, will have a developer that's going to perform in the timeline that they have. Because once they do get permits from the government to break ground after they've gotten their required number of sales, because we have a pre-sale period, which typically is 6 to 18 months, depending on how fast it sells and what the demand and market is. Once they have that and they have met that required 40% of the building that has to be sold before the bank is going to, give the construction loans and the permits are going to be issued. Once the permits are issued, they've got 36 months to build.
Okay.
And most of the projects that we talk about right now are all projects that's already broken ground. Like this one is 2.5 years. It's already, the building 1 is already completely up, 26 stories, and building 2 is already on the 4th floor. So you're typically walking into projects that's actively underway. I do have a few that when they first come out, we'll do a pre-construction. And I've had one building with one developer that took longer than the actual anticipated time because we ran into a government change where they went from 30% required sales to 40% right as they were getting their permits, and then they had just gotten the permits to start and the government changed that, and then we got hit with COVID.
Okay.
So we have added about a year and a half of extra pre-sales time that they should have actually started the construction about a year and a half ago. But they are breaking ground in January. But that's the only one in all the 9 years that I've been in Panama that we've experienced that with.
And again, it wasn't that the builder went under. It was just that it just took an extra year.
The developers I work with have never had a building that has gone
belly up.
Belly up, never.
So you can buy this as an investor. You can buy these condos in this example. And I know you do a lot of other stuff besides condos, but I'm just staying on it because it's like such a simple freaking process here. You can buy these things 10, 10, 10. Would an investor like me, would I even have to go there, or do I even have to go see the building?
No, you don't even have to go to see the building. As long as you have a passport, you don't even have to go. I have sight unseen sales all the time, and I've had more during COVID than I've ever experienced before because people are looking for that plan B now.
Yeah. When someone buys this condo from you, and would I get to pick what unit, or is it only these 8?
No. You pick. You get to. We have maybe 8 or 14 units in the building, but in like when they're first starting the pre-construction, you get to pick out the floor that's available. And I always take my client to the best view, the highest floor available.
Okay.
So and it's like, you know, you may come in and I may have already sold out of the 14, 7. So I've got 7 left. I'm going to find for you what I would suggest for an investment, looking for the best return on investment, the highest floor, the best view in the building.
And that obviously would change the price as well.
It's going to depend on the square footage, but you may say, I don't want to be in building 1 because those units are 120 to 160 square meters.
Okay.
I only want an 80 meter squared unit.
Okay.
And so we'd go to building 2 and I'd look in that range, whether it's a 78 meter squared unit or a 90 meter squared unit, somewhere within that range, in that price range, highest, best view.
Okay. If I want ocean view, say I'm like, hey, Evie, I'll buy one, but I only want ocean view. So if there's this building or the next building, ocean view comes out, that's the only thing that I want.
Okay.
Then whenever that pops up, that's something that I could get.
Absolutely.
Of course, price would change on that
of course.
as well. Can you do a 10, 10, 10 on ocean view?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, what am I doing here?
Ocean front as well,
yeah,
not just ocean view, ocean front,
right? Ocean view is kind of a side view.
Golf course, mountain, you name it, we can.
You have them.
We have
but
them.
not all these are vacation condos though.
No,
right?
no. A lot of these are not. A lot of these are long-term rental, more focused towards family, focused towards like ambassadors, politicians.
Because this would be a kind of, like, say, like more like in a downtown. I'm gonna make this up. Like in a downtown area where, if the place to lease it, you're gonna lease it for a 12-month lease, whatever it is, 24-month lease to a working family that's living there for 12 months of the year.
Depends on the geographic location, but most of the leases that you're going to see are going to be 1 year or less.
Okay.
And a long-term lease is considered 2 months or longer in Panama.
Okay.
Short-term is anything less than 2 months.
Okay. But when you say that, just for us, let's say American viewers listening right now, watching, does that mean that every 2 months you have to go get a new tenant?
No, that means anything under 45 days we use for like Airbnb type vacation rentals.
Okay.
And there's buildings that you can do that with, and there's buildings that you cannot do that with. And so I'm saying, if you have one that's a long term, it has to be more than 45 days. And if it is, we do have a lot of people coming in with the multinational companies or the companies themselves that's wanting to rent a block of units for their employees. And it may be a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month lease.
Okay.
But typically you don't see a lot of leases more than 12 months.
Right. Two things here. Number one, there are vacation style rentals you could do in these. And then there's long-term leases, more of a, when I say long-term lease, I'm meaning more of a local that's going to live there,
right.
Work in that area, whatever it is.
Correct.
And then there's also the vacation ones where it's like, hey, this is on the beach. Either you could vacation rent it or just leave it as your second home if you wanted to.
That's
but
right.
then you'd be paying the mortgage, of course, for it.
Well, a lot of people that do them for their vacation say they want to live in Canada 6 months out of the year and down there 6 months out of the year, then we'll find a renter for it for the other 6 months.
Wow.
If they want to. A lot of people don't want to. They want it to be their second home and they don't want anybody else in there.
Okay, so my first question before I keep going right now, if someone listening right now wants to look at properties, because I've been to your website, they're not on it. where can they find? How do they view a condo? What it would look like? How do they get it from you?
Like I said, this is not publicly printed
Yeah, it is not.
anywhere.
No, I went there.
So you have to go to my website, Evie Brooks Panama, and opt in. And what we do is we schedule free 30-minute conversations,
Okay.
so that we can talk about what are you looking for, what are your strategies, are you wanting to be an expat, are you just wanting to diversify your investments,
Okay.
are you looking for short-term, long-term, get in, get out, legacy investments. Those, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider.
Okay.
So that first 30 minutes is just to kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. Then once I have that, then I'm going to send you the information on the specific projects that fit into what your plan of action is and what you want to accomplish.
Gotcha. So like a lot of the wholesalers out there, you're going to send them the off-market. A lot of wholesalers may be watching. You're going to send them the off-market list of 10-10-10s or cash buyers that they could buy that fits what they do right there.
Correct.
Man, I am so intrigued by this. And if I wanted to buy one and live in it, like you said, for 6 months and then rent it out for 6 months, your company will do that?
We do everything. We're all things Panama A to Z. We do property management. We'll furnish the units for you. We'll help you get your dog transferred over to Panama. We'll help you set up a bank account, buy a car, anything that you need, get the visa. If we don't do it, if we're not licensed to do it, we have the power team members to help do that.
Let me ask you this. So I don't want to be, and maybe this fits in a category, I don't want to give up citizenship in America. I don't have any desire to do that. But I do think it's kind of cool to have dual citizenship. I think it's like a kind of a cool concept.
Right.
So I could, if I wanted to, I could have dual citizenship in America and Panama.
Yes.
But is there like having a primary citizenship in America, or is it?
Yeah, you still have all the tax obligations, liabilities, and responsibilities as an American citizen.
Right.
And you can also just be a citizen of the United States and have a residency in Panama and not actually have to do the citizenship. So it depends on what you're wanting to accomplish. But if you're going to be in Panama more than 90 consecutive days, then you're going to need to do a residency. But if you're going to be there less than 90 days, you don't even have to do the residency.
I know you said on some of that new stuff that came out during COVID, where you got to own $300,000 of real estate for one of the visas, the new special visas. Would that $300,000, let's say you bought a condo here for $300,000, but I financed that condo, does that count for the 300 grand? It's 300 grand cash.
You're from a friendly nation, so that you don't really even need to worry about that, because you can go get your visa or your friendly nation's visa to become a resident in 6 months, and it's going to cost you $3,000, and you don't have to invest in anything.
Okay.
You do not have to invest $300,000. The $300,000 is $300,000 cash in the country. For a real estate project. And so what's happening is a lot of people are out there, they're taking a $200,000 property and they're marking it up to $300,000 because these non-friendly nations, people wanting to get in so bad. So they're jacking up the prices, and I'm like, don't do that. We're going to offer this program as well to these people. And I even have someone from China that is representing that particular visa for our company.
Yeah.
And because we want them to walk in and have a good experience, be able to have equity in the property, be able to cash flow the property if they want to rent it at some point in time. But there's no reason for anybody from a friendly nation to have to cough up $300,000, which I would never recommend, because I'm all about leverage and OPM.
That I love.
Yeah.
That's why I love the 10-10-10. Like, the concept is like freaking, it's like a self-financed or owner-financed deal with me just putting 10-10-10 down. I'm thinking like I said, my self-directed. I'm thinking my HSAs. Because I have Roth HSAs. I have Coverdell HSAs you can get, right? That are I'm sorry, Coverdell Roth that you can get, inherited Roth, solo Roth. Like, I'm big on all those things. So my mind is like spinning right now. And it's non-recourse loans. You could just ballpark, right? Because it's going to change with what interest rate is and cash flow and all this stuff, right? So this is not a guaranteed rate of return by any means, but just to give us an idea, someone did a 10-10-10 type of deal for the cash flow side. What would be like kind of a expected return or idea of a return?
Okay, that is an open-ended question, and of course we can never make any guarantees, as you know, and it depends on the geographic location. Are you in Costa del Este? Are you in Santa Maria? Are you in Veracruz? Or are you in Coronado? So it's going to vary all over the board, but we haven't seen anything below 6%.
Okay.
And you'll see things as, around, for this type of a project, 11, 12%.
Okay. All right. So, and that's what I was looking for, just a basic window,
Yes.
just to make sure that the viewers, this isn't a 23% return on their money. You're looking at somewhere, and again, I'm not even holding you to the 6 and 10 because everything's going to change, and I'm just trying to get a window here of going in the right perspective if you're looking at one of these deals.
Okay, now I'm only talking about the cash flow. I'm not talking about the existing equity that you walk into the door with. Correct. With that, you typically do see double digits, you know, 20s.
Because then you add in the capital side of it as well to it. So if the cash flow side is the rental side, one last question on this. Could I buy a unit from you, and this is probably a very specific unit, right? But could I buy a unit from you that was a 10-10-10, oceanfront view, or not oceanfront, but just straight oceanfront, that I want to only Airbnb it and then stay there whenever I want to stay there? Would you have a condo that would fit something like that, or could you have one? I don't know if you have one right now.
I do right now.
Okay, well then we should talk. So let me ask you this then: on the Airbnb side, would your company manage the Airbnb for cleaning it and stocking it with soap, shampoo, whatever it is? Would you guys do that as well?
We do all property management only for our clients, though.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, we only charge 14% for that, where the standard in Panama is 20% plus a monthly fee, whether it's rented or not. Okay. So all these people that are sitting there with condos with these property management companies, I call ours a nonprofit property management company because we don't make money from that. That's just one of the services we offer to our clients, because when our clients become a client or an investor with us, they're with us until they're no longer in one of our projects. They're going to get emails, drip campaigns. We're going to do training, educational webinars. We do VIP tours constantly in Florida.
Yeah, let's talk about those. Let's talk about those, the VIP tours.
So yeah, we do the property management. We do it at much lower cost, and there's not a monthly fee if there's no rentals. So
whether it's Airbnb, long-term lease, short-term lease, you guys handle it for me.
We'll do it all.
I don't have to deal with it. Do you guys even post it on Airbnb and talk to the potential people coming in, or is that what I would do?
No, we do all of that. We have a property management property manager that works for our company that does all of the rentals and the leasing for the clients that's coming in. So you're not trying to find the renters with the Airbnb. Now, of course, if you have a market and you say, hey guys, I have a condo and it's available, and you would send them to us, and then from there that we handle it.
You guys deal with them from there. And if the Airbnb client calls and says the light bulbs are out, they're going to call me. They're going to go to you, and you guys fix it.
We do a thorough inspection with a checklist after every tenant checks out, so that's not going to be happening.
My brain is spinning. Okay, obviously investing out of state, even out of state, out of country. A lot of investors will be saying, hey, look, before I go put my money there, I want to touch it. I want to see it. Some investors don't. Some investors will just straight up buy sight unseen. Talk to me about if I want to come and see the property, I want to go touch it, feel it, see it. How does that work?
Prior to and since COVID has opened back up, we have VIP tour, what we call boots on the ground tours. Okay. This is not a sit in a classroom and listen to somebody talk from the front of the room for 4 days. This is you land at the airport, we pick you up, transportation's included. You're going to have 4 nights accommodations at a really nice resort location. And for 2.5 days, we run so hard that you're begging to go home and go to bed by the end of the day. We eat at the nicest restaurants. You experience the culture. We meet with the attorneys. You go into the banking district. You see it, feel it, touch it, taste it. We go to the farms. We go to all the different geographic locations that we represent, be it oceanfront, golf course, ocean view, city life, whatever, and we show you some of the projects. Of course, we cannot ever go to all the projects that we're representing at one time, because we represent numerous different developers and numerous different projects. So we'll take you to the ones that I feel like right now have the best opportunities for the best return on investment, equity positions, things like that. Like some people are like, look, I'm just looking for a really fabulous place to live myself. We're going to move here. We're going to have it 6 months out of the year. We want $1 million unit. Well, I don't normally take our tours on those projects because most people are not looking for that. But if they are, and we know that coming in, then we'll set up a special showing for them to go show them those types of projects a day before or a day after the actual tour.
If someone wanted to go on a tour with you, okay, VIP tour to go down there, check it out, see it, touch it, even the agriculture, which you still got to get to here in a second. Where do they go to get information about the tour?
Well, if you go to the eviebrookspanama.com website,
so the best place.
They can opt in there, but you can also go to mypanamavacationrealty.com/events.
Okay.
And it will show all the upcoming events. And because of COVID, we normally have 6 months booked out. Okay. Right now, we only have January and 1 week in February, the first week in February. because we just don't know what's going to keep happening.
COVID,
so why keep?
How many is on a tour, just to give them an idea?
Typically, we will only take a maximum of 14 people. That's 7 couples. Or if they're single.
It is small.
It is small because it takes a lot of personalized attention to address all of the different concerns and questions and you know, transporting people around the city.
Okay.
We can't put them on a bus now.
Yeah.
So we have to have in separate vehicles, SUVs now.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about that.
So it's just constantly, you know, maneuvering to fit into the requirements.
Getting off of the condos for a second, which I think are just so freaking intriguing to me. Oh, wait, I got one more question I thought of. You said $1 million. If someone wanted to buy not a $285,000 unit, but they wanted to buy a $1 million oceanfront penthouse, I don't know, I'm just making it up here, right? And that was available in inventory that they could do that. Is it still the same concept, 10-10-10, or did the developer change it?
The 10-10-10 program is for pre-construction, and yes, on a pre-construction program we could do that. We're only going to have probably 3 or 4 in any high-end building like that they're going to do that. But let's say it's already finished, or they're going to be ready to deliver in the next 6 months. You're going to have to put down 20% or 30%.
Okay.
The same 10-10-10 that you would have put over a period of time because it's ready to take delivery, so you have to put that down. And in COVID, we have had some developers, it's like, okay, we're going to drop the down payment to 20% versus 30%. But typically it's 30% down.
Okay. Same
finance program.
They'll still owner finance it for you?
They'll still owner finance it for you.
Oh my goodness. And still, you can still lease it out if they wanted to lease it out?
Yes.
Everything stays?
Yeah, but now let's back up.
Okay, yeah, back up.
You're not going to have the cash flow on a $1.5 million unit.
But if you're just trying to cover some expenses.
Yeah, if you're going to just cover some of the expenses, you just want to cover some of the expenses the 6
while
months
you're not staying there.
Yes,
you could do it.
Exactly.
Right. It would just cover some of the expenses. That's more of a second home that you're just buying to have, not a investment property. Investment property, the numbers have to work like any other rental property.
Correct.
Okay, quickly here, I want to go over, you do a lot more than just condo buildings though.
We do.
A lot more than just condos. So what are some other types of investments that you guys have in Panama that they could look at, either A, on the tour with you, or B, at least if they signed up on the email list of what they could get from you? There's
so many. There's single family homes. We'll do custom homes, custom built homes. We have builders that we work with that do the custom built homes, great reputations. We have mountain homes. We have government subsidized programs, which are projects where you're just investing in, you're getting in, you're going to get out within 24 months, 12 to 24 months. You'll be in, you'll be out, you'll have a guaranteed return of anywhere from 10% up to 18%, depending on if it's 12 months, 13 months, or 24 months. And that's just an investment for a program that the government has created for the Panamanians to be able to get in a property, but they don't have to put down but a few $100s for the down payment, where the developer can't build a $60,000 property for $300 down.
Right.
So this provides the investors the funding up front, but there's 150,000 of these needed in Panama right now, and they just can't even build them fast enough. You have to be a Panamanian, have been in the same line of work for about 2 years. You have to have at least $1,200 to $1,400 in income monthly as a Panamanian to qualify for these. But when they purchase these, they have now become a homeowner. Changes their whole mentality. Most of them have never been a homeowner. And this is what they consider their middle class. And they're nice little 500, 550 square foot homes, cinder block, nice communities, sidewalks, that you've got the street lamps, all of that kind of stuff. And you know that in 12 months after you put your money into this, you're going to receive an 11% return on your money check from the day they receive your money, the day that you're going to get your money. And then between 12 months and 24 months, you're going to receive another payout up to $10,000. So the minimum, if you were in this project for a full 24 months, which typically is not going to be the case, you would have made 10% annually for both years. So that's a great investment.
That's government
subsidized.
They're doing. So this is where the government is trying to get their middle class to be homeowners versus tenants. And so this is a program they came up with. The builders, developers are now needing cash because they can't build off of $300 from the local. And that's where the guaranteed rate of return is coming from, so they can build these so that the local buyer can then move into this property, et cetera. Gotcha. And these are strictly moving, just make sure that the viewers are on the same page. The condos is more like it's an investment that it could be a rental property, so forth. This is they don't own it; they're just using the money on side of it.
When you put the money down, you are the owner of that house. You have an exact address, exact house, and everything. So that's your collateral. Because I'm not I'm not big on just a promissory note with this type of a project. I want, if something were to go wrong, you have an asset that you now are going to take possession of, because you could rent them for a whole lot more than what they're going to be even paying for their mortgage. They literally are going to be paying less than $200 a month for their mortgage payments for these, to own these homes.
So you got condos, you got single family homes, you got government types of contracts deals that are out there. Go the farming. Custom
homes, and then of course the farming, that's a whole another one. That's getting into arable land, getting into organics and hydroponics, big things that's needed. The population's going to continue to grow between now and 2050 and beyond, and the arable land is continuing to go away faster and faster and faster. So the value of arable land just continues to increase, and it's going to become like a golden nugget, you know, because there's just becoming not enough of it, and you need it to be able to produce the food to feed all the people. So that's a whole new concept. You have short-term investment, short-term crops, which are called rotational crops. Those are hydroponic type crops in the greenhouse. Normally, you do have some rotational crops outside, like pineapples and you know, watermelons and stuff like that. But inside the greenhouses, you've got a controlled environment, number one. You're investing into a business. You're going to see projected internal rate of return of 13 to 15%. And you do not own land, because when you, unless you buy the whole greenhouse, I mean, you can purchase a whole greenhouse. It's about $1.5 million. But otherwise, you're purchasing just about 250 square meters of a greenhouse, and a greenhouse is typically a full hectare. So it's about a 2.47 acre greenhouse. So it's a big greenhouse. So they divide those up into like fractional ownership. But you own the equipment of the greenhouse. You're inside a controlled environment, so it's going to be able to produce, and you're going to have 2.5 to 3.5 rotational crops that come out of there every year. So after 24 months of your investment is when you start receiving a payout, and you'll receive a payout in the first quarter of the following year after 24 months of being in the investment, and then every year for 30 years. It's a 30-year contract. So like I said, you can expect about a 13 to 15% IRR, or you can be in the outdoor investments, which are what we call permanent crops, long-term crops that are going to produce 50, 60, 70 years. Avocados, lime trees, mango trees, passion fruit, dragon fruit, that type of stuff. But once you start with that, that's what you're going to be with for those years, okay, 50, 60, 70 years, because that's how long they produce. A tree is a tree, and that's what it's going to produce. It takes longer to start producing, 4 years, before you get the first payout. But it's going to produce, but you own that dirt. And I am a dirt girl. We're from Georgia. I'm a dirt girl.
Clay.
So I want that ground. I want that arable land. And you're going to get, for example, the cost to enter one of these are going to be in the mid $40,000. So let's say $45,000. That's going to get you 2.47 acres of land, the infrastructure, the irrigation system, the trees that have had to grow in the greenhouse for 1 to 2 years in advance, then planted and then produced a harvest. And it's also going to get you 4 years of the farm management agreement that you've paid in advance, because after the 4 years when they start producing is when the farm management funds are taken out of the revenues. So you've got two contracts. You've got the contract for the purchase of the dirt, which you do get a title for the land, and then you've got the farm management fee, which creates the total investment price of in the neighborhood of $45,000 to $50,000. Yeah,
super freaking cool. So, in your experience, when you have investors come in, maybe on your tour, let's just talk about those in general, right? When the investor comes on the tour and they look at the different opportunities, right? Obviously, I'm more of just a real estate guy, right? I love it, love everything about it. Where do you see the investors? Do they kind of normally go real estate, or when they see the farming, do they go the farming route? What would you say? Was it half and half?
It's totally a mix, but most of the time you'll see them do both.
Do both, okay.
Yeah, most of our clients that come in on the VIP tour, they're already vetted. They already know what they want to do. They've already made up their mind they're going to invest internationally. They just don't know what kind of investments, and they get down there and they see, oh my gosh, I want to be in the Fendi building, and I want to be in the farming. Gotcha. Now, the question is, do I go into the greenhouse or do I go into the perm crops? You know, do I want to own the dirt, or do I just want the business revenue from the rotational crops? I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah.
And every single individual person that I sit down with is going to have a different plan of action, a different portfolio, a different game, different amount of money to work with.
So
I mean, it's
amazing.
Be so unique in every situation.
Yeah, I mean, you have literally built, the word unique you just used, the word I was thinking, you have built such a unique business concept, investment opportunity for people to go look at
Yeah.
inside of it. Very, very unique. If we just break it down in a quick kind of nutshell here, if someone was looking at how do they invest international, right? They live in a different country, they live in the States, Canada, wherever it is. What would you just say from a quick level? How does someone invest internationally? What would you tell them?
This process is so simple. But
Okay.
first of all, the investing process itself, the step-by-step process, is you find the project that you want. You want to make sure that you're associated with somebody that's legitimate, that's been vetted, that really is good at what they do, that you're not paying too much for the property. Number two, you decide what you want to invest in. You send your passport. The contract comes back via email. You sign the contract. We get that contract executed for you, make sure it's all correct and accurate, and then the third thing is you wire transfer the funds. That's it.
So it's like 4 steps, 5 steps, I think you listed out there for how to invest internationally.
That's right.
With you guys there. Man, such a unique, I just can't believe the developers are freaking holding that note with like no non-recourse loans. I mean, at whatever the interest rate, it's going to change where the market's at, but right now you guys are floating around the 4% interest rate.
Right.
Is that a 30-year? What kind of loan is it?
Every developer does
Even
something different.
yeah.
Like one of the developers that we have right now has offered a 20-year amortization and a 20-year owner finance. Most of these developers only do 5 to 8 to 10 years of owner finance, but they will also amortize it for 20 or 30 years. One of our developers, they will do interest-only payments each year, and then once every 12 months, you'll pay down the principal by 4%. So let's say your balance is $200,000.
Right.
You're going to pay down $8,000 for that year at 12 months.
Yeah.
And then at 24 months, you're going to take that payment less
4%,
the balance,
right.
pay down 4%.
Interesting, man. So unique. Okay, let me get into. I have so many more questions here for you, but I'm running out of time. Let me again. If someone wants to know farming avocado, just go back to that same website. It sounds like probably the best way to do is have them just opt in. Because you really don't put a lot of it out there because it is very pocket type based type of stuff. So if they go to your website, join, that's when you guys will reach out, schedule calls, contact them, and then you guys will send out emails if they want to see different types of properties into it. And then that's where they can also find out about the tour if they want to go on it.
Exactly.
The tour that's coming up. Okay. Let me get into the question here of money is. Now maybe you have a very, very unique answer. Because of your international background here. So I'm very intrigued. This is my favorite part of the show because I get to see how your brain works, basically. So money is, you're going to fill it out here, whatever 1, 5, 10 words it is. You fill it out here. You're going to sign it right here for us, and then let's reveal it together. And we'll see. I'm excited to see what your answer is going to be. So you put it in your lap. You can hold it, leave it right there if you want to. It's all up to you. Whatever's better for you.
Okay, sign.
Sign it. We're going to put it on my wall right now. We're going to get down into this. All right, here we go. So, yeah, first time the word has been used, and does go with international. All right, so our answer, Evie's answer here is money is a game changer. So we have money is a game. Someone used that one, but no one has used money is a game changer. So let's break it down. What does it mean, money is a game changer? What does that mean to you?
Money is nothing more than a means to an end.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that is a game changer. If you know how to use money and you know how to make it work for you, it changes the future of your life.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Money is, obviously people have used the answer money as a tool, but in just investing and understanding the game of money, your job is to make it work.
Right.
Like that is your job. You're the boss, you're the owner of that money, and you've got to make it work. And
Absolutely.
I think where so many people miss the boat at is they don't make it work.
That's right.
They work for it versus the other way around.
Exactly.
Majority, my family, I think kind of how your family grew up, is that we worked for the money.
That's right.
And my job right now is totally different. My job is to make my money work, and I will work it as hard as I can work that money, because one of us is going to have to go work, either me, or the money.
That's right.
And most people, they work their whole lives for 40, 50, 60 years. And they actually still don't even get to where they're trying to get to at the end of it. That's what's crazy about the whole thing, you know? They work for 45 years every single day and still don't end up where they wanted to end up at.
Right.
Man, but if they'll make money work, which is what which is what the 10-10-10 program is doing, is I'm making that money work for me.
That's right.
I am making it go to work. Whether it wants to or not, I'm going to make it go. I love that word, or words. Money is a game changer. Evie, I love having the show. Such a unique concept. First international investor that I've ever brought on. If I can just end it kind of quickly here with just some final words of advice to those that are watching, whether they be business owners, whether it be in real estate investors, whatever it may be. What would be some of your career of X amount of years that you've been doing real estate, business, investing, running teams, management, whatever it is? What would be some words of advice you'd give them as they're doing their business or investing?
Well, you just stole it from me. It's learning how to make your money make money.
Okay.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
If you understand that and you know how to make your money work for you, even if you don't have large stacks of cash,
Doesn't matter.
You can put that money to work for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, that for me is such a passion. I am an educator. That is what I do, and that is my passion. And do I put in a lot of hours? Yes. But what I do is my playground.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I do not work a day in my life. I love what I do. I do get tired. I get exhausted. But it's a challenge every morning. I cannot wait to get up and for my feet to hit the ground to be able to do what it is that I do, because I see so many people change their outlook on life, their outlook on money. Money is nothing but a means to an end.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not about the money for me, it's about the challenge, it's about the opportunity, and it's about the opportunity to help other people.
Yeah, I love it. And again, you're 100% right. You gotta, if your words of advice are you gotta learn how to make money work for you. There's not a more true statement that freaking exists in the game of money than understand that one thing right there. And for clarity, when I say that, I do not mean give it to your financial typical advisor that's taking the majority of all your profits with you, just to be clear.
I have to agree with you.
I'm not referring to that type of making my money work for me, which is what we're kind of sold into, right?
Oh, yeah.
Give it to someone else, let them go do whatever they want to with it, and you get a basic return, hopefully, off of it. Like, that is not what I mean by money movement. I'm in control of my money. It's my job to make it move, not somebody else's job. I got to pick the right things and go do it, and go and make that money work, move, invest for me. Evie, I loved having the show. We'll go have some fun in my office. We'll talk about some more investing and some more oceanfront Airbnb units I can buy from you here in the future. Again, guys, appreciate watching. If you want to get more from Evie, go to Evie Brooks, her last name, Brooks, Panama.com, and she'll give you the pocket listing she has. Reach out, talk to you, so you guys can learn more about international investing and the benefits of it. And thanks for watching. We will see you next time on The Money Is Show.